Hello and welcome back to Sheaff Math. In today's lesson, we're going to be working on one-step equations, but with the multiplication and division properties. Now let's review what an equation is and solving equations. Now, this is a typical equation where you have to solve for x, and I want you to think of an equation as a scale like this. The left side equals the right side. And in order for an equation to be true, those little scales have to be even right there, okay? Now, let's suppose that we had 4 bars of gold on each side of the scale, keeping it even. Well, if I were to take off 2 bars of gold off the left, I would have to take 2 bars off of the right in order to keep that scale balanced or that equation equal. Okay. Now, if I were to add something to the left-hand side, we would have to add the same thing to the other side, okay? And so in this case, for this equation, we subtract 4 on both sides in order to solve. Now, this is also true with multiplication and division, okay? So a little visual here, if I wanted to multiply the left side times 2, or double it, I would have to double it like that. But in order to keep that scale balanced, I would have to double or multiply the right side by 2 as well to keep it even. Okay? Now let's take a look at some examples. This particular one here is 3x equals 12. Now what that really means is 3 times x equals 12. And you may be able to do it in your head, but for right now we're going to learn a method so that you never have to do it in your head, especially if you have very difficult problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo that multiplying 3. Okay, that 3 is multiplying by x, and we want to get x by itself. So the opposite of multiply by 3 is divide by 3. So we are going to divide by 3 on both sides. By doing that, we undo that 3 right there, and we're left with x on the left, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, your final answer. Here's another one. 6 is multiplying by x this time, so we are going to undo it by dividing 6 on both sides, and that 6 cancels, and so we're left with x equals 5. Now this one, the x is being divided by 4, and so to undo a division of 4, we have to do the opposite, which is multiply by 4. And what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And so by doing that, we cancel out that dividing 4. We're left with x equals, and then 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? Same thing with this one. This one has a dividing 7 that we need to undo. So we are going to multiply by 7, and cancel that out. And we are going to get x equals 35. Okay. Now let's take a look at some harder problems. Sometimes you're dealing with negative numbers. So teachers, if you haven't gotten to negatives yet, you might want to stop the video here. If you do know about negatives, continue on. So here we're going to undo that divide by 4 by multiplying it by 4 each side. And so it cancels those 4's, and we're left with x equals, and negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Our final answer. All right, now this one, the x is on the right-hand side. The same thing applies. We want to get x by itself and get rid of that divide by 8. So we undo it by multiplying by 8 on both sides, cancel that out, and we have x equals 80. Well, we have 80 equals x. But when you're writing your final answer, I want you to rearrange that, switch it so that it says x equals 80. Okay? Now this one seems to always give students problems. Negative x equals 14. Well, what number are we really dividing here out? What is that all about, right? Well, there's really a 1 in front of that x, right? And so that negative 1 is multiplying x. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide by 1, negative 1, on both sides, canceling that out. And we get x equals negative 14. All right, and there you go. You just learned to solve one-step equations with the multiplication and division properties. Well, if you need to watch this again, I encourage it. It'll help you grasp it a little bit better. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.